As you're probably aware, when a new product comes onto the market, there's a lot of pomp and ceremony, whether it's a chiseled cyclist gurning their way up a climb or a mountain biker shredding roost all over a berm. Usually a new product is linked with lots of news stories and lots of amazing imagery about this new product. Doesn't always happen though, and that has happened a couple of times with SRAM recently, because they've quietly launched a couple of new lines of products. The first was the 35 lineup of forks, where basically there's some low end, for rockshox at least, 35mm stanchion trail forks. This is good because it gives you plenty of chassis stability and strength, and you kind of get the older dampers in a new fork, and basically cheap, good forks. The other thing they've done very quietly, without any announcement anywhere, is the new SRAM SX Eagle group set. So we had a story on BikeRadar a couple of days ago with some brief specs and details, and you can find that quite easily online. And I would like to thank Bird Cycles because they brought our attention to this new group set through their Facebook blog post about it. SRAM SX Eagle is a group set below NX Eagle. NX Eagle was the cheapest 12-speed Eagle group set available up until the other week. Well, up until a few weeks in the future because you can't buy SX Eagle yet. But SX Eagle has come in as an even cheaper alternative. On the face of it, it seems that SX Eagle is aimed primarily at OEM brands, so that's your bike manufacturers, rather than aftermarket. You get a aluminium crank with a 32-tooth steel ring on there, and it comes with all the different axle and BB configurations you might need. There's a regular Eagle rear mech, with the X actuation and X horizon and all this sort of jazz to keep it working across the 11 to 50-tooth cassette. And then there are a couple of shifter options in there as well. There's one which has the usual 5 clicks as you push the mech towards the easier end of the cassette, and there's also a single shift version. This is something we've seen especially with GX Eagle and also EX1, which is their e-bike group set, and basically means you can only shift one gear at a time, and that's usually used on e-bikes. If you've got a lot of power going through the drivetrain and you bang through loads of gears at once, you've got more chance of, like damaging your mech or having missed shifts. So it looks like this could be a real good option for a replacement shifter on an e-bike. At the back, much like NX Eagle, you get an 11 to 50-tooth cassette range. This means that it sits on a regular Shimano free hub, not the XD driver that SRAM have been pushing for quite a few years now, which gives them the 10 to 50-tooth range of GX Eagle and up. OEM buyers will be able to get the full group set. However, aftermarket you're going to be limited to the shifter, the rear mech and the cranks. They're not, at the moment at least, it appears to be supplying the cassette or the chain aftermarket. So that means if you're away and you smash a mech or you break a shifter, there is now a cheaper option to replace that, which will have the same functionality at a lower price but higher weight and potentially a lower quality of materials. Might get you out of a fix though in a short time. I spoke to one of the guys at Bird Cycle Works about what the effect of SX Eagle and the 35 forks will have for a manufacturer such as themselves. And basically what they came back with was that it allows them to put out a modern trail bike at a much lower price. Now the individual price components isn't hugely cheaper than NX Eagle, it's about 30%. Now that might not sound like a massive difference if you look at it from the package of a whole bike, because the drivetrain obviously doesn't take up the whole budget of what a bike costs. Now put yourself in the shoes of the product manager though. This is the person that creates the bike package. They pick the bits that are going to go on the frame and a whole raft of different jobs. They're going to be looking at this maybe in 2 different ways. First off, it means that they can keep a family of bikes with the same build philosophy. So if your top-end bike has got an XX1 or an X01 drivetrain with some nice burly 35mm trail forks, your entry-level bike could also have this now thanks to SX Eagle or maybe a bit of NX Eagle and the new 35 forks. The other thing it might mean is, say you want to hit a particular price point, let's say £800 in the UK, and previously you'd have had NX Eagle on there and the forks, but you couldn't fit a dropper post because there wasn't enough money. Now you could down-spec the drivetrain to SX Eagle at the cost of a little bit extra weight in the cassette, which is pretty heavy, but overall probably quite similar sort of feeling bikes. You might then have the budget or the available money to spec a dropper post, and that's going to have a really big effect on how the bike rides and how it is to own for your end user. So I think this gives bike product managers quite an interesting thing to play with. And as I say, as a consumer, it gives you those cheaper things that you could go and replace broken parts with. The final bit of the conundrum is, well, what's going to happen to those bikes which previously didn't have NX Eagle but had a 1x drivetrain? Probably it was going to be Shimano Dior 10-speed at that lower price point. I think there's a strong possibility that the next raft of bikes that are going to be announced, now that SX Eagle is around, you're not going to see much Dior 10-speed anymore. It was already kind of out of date because it wasn't the Dior 11-speed. Now product managers have a full bona fide Eagle drivetrain that they can put on their bikes. I think we're going to see a lot less of Dior 10-speed. So the evolution of Eagle has been really rapid. We first saw XX1 and X01 only in 2016, so it's only about 3 years ago, and we're already seeing it way down at the sort of real budget end of the market. You've got GX Eagle, NX Eagle, and now SX Eagle. What you're also seeing is the electronic side of it. So SRAM have kind of taken this 1x12 idea and it's kind of gone boom like that. Now Shimano, they are much more methodical in the way they do things, as we always know, they're quite traditional. We've got XTR 12-speed, we suspect there's more to come very soon as well. Model years are very sort of rigid in Shimano's timeline, so there is a new XT due pretty soon, so it'll be interesting to see what they come up with. SRAM won't be offering a full SX group set aftermarket as far as we know. However, we do have pricing for the cranks, the mech and the shifter. In the UK, the crank is going to come in at £88, and that's €100. We don't have dollar pricing yet. The rear mech is coming at £80 or €90, and the shifter is £31 or €35. We have seen online retailers pre-selling an SX Eagle group set. However, that comes with an NX Eagle cassette and chain, coming in at about €365, which puts it about €50 cheaper than an NX Eagle group set, and that's at RRP. Now it's coming in about 200 grams heavier than an NX Eagle group set as well, at just over 2.3 kilos. So what do you think about SRAM's SX Eagle drivetrain? Do you think it's great to see this technology on the entry-level bikes, or do you think we should just stick with good old traditional 11-speed? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe.